We'll have details first, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85, tonight's low 53, right now 50 degrees. President-elect Donald Trump may be coming to Texas for SpaceX's Starship launch. Fox's Kristen Goodwin has details.
The Federal Aviation Administration issuing temporary flight restrictions over Brownsville and Boca Chica, Texas, sparking speculation the president-elect will be in the area to watch SpaceX test its massive Starship rocket. The 30-minute launch window kicks off at 4 p.m. Central Time. Folks can watch live on the SpaceX site. The company's CEO, Elon Musk, has been at the president-elect's side the last few weeks, even attending meetings with congressional Republicans. The president-elect recently tapping Musk and former GOP presidential primary rival Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, an outside government group aimed at slashing the budget and scaling back the federal workforce. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And Trump is picking former Wisconsin Representative Sean Duffy for the role of Transportation Secretary. Duffy served in the House from 2011 to 2019 and was a member of the Financial Services Committee. He left the House in 2019 after one of his children had a heart condition and currently hosts a show on Fox Business. Meantime, Trump is vowing a mass deportation of illegal immigrants, which has some farmers worried about a lack of manpower to pick the crops. Brian Shook has more.
Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez says that agriculture workers should not be the focus. He joined the weekend talk shows to say that convicted criminals should be targeted. Some Democratic leaders are standing against the president-elect. The governor of Massachusetts says that state police will not assist with deportation efforts. I'm Brian Shook.
President Biden's being slammed for authorizing Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles to strike targets inside Russia. Here's Missouri Senator Josh Hawley speaking with Fox's Laura Ingraham.
Looks like a green light for escalation on the part of Ukraine and then Russia, as you pointed out. What would happen if Russia would launch and retaliate missiles into the territory of a NATO member? Then our treaty obligations would be triggered. Then we're talking about a full-scale war. I can't imagine that President Trump wants that. He's been totally against it.
Trump has promised a swift end to the war in Ukraine, but it's unclear how he plans to make that happen. A third person is dead after a series of seemingly random attacks in the streets of Manhattan Monday morning, and a homeless man with a history of mental health issues is under arrest. Police say 51-year-old Ramon Rivera, who was just released a month ago for burglary and assault, is back in custody for the 9th time this year. Police say he fatally stabbed a 36-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman. All three attacks happened in a 2.5-hour span. Well, the battle over the separation of church and state is playing out in Texas, where the State Board of Education is on the verge of approving a new Bible-infused curriculum for public schools. Chris Fox reports.
The Texas State Board of Education hearing arguments over its proposed new public school curriculum that would feature Bible stories like the Sermon on the Mount and parables like the Good Samaritan. SMU religious studies professor Mark Chansey.
Lessons still clearly privilege Christianity over other traditions.
Supporters saying the weighted coverage of Christianity is not unconstitutional. Jonathan Covey from Texas Values.
There's no rule that says that if you have 25 references to the Bible, you must have 25 references to every other major religion.
The state board will vote on the curriculum on Friday. In Austin, Chris Fox, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
City staff briefed San Antonio City Council Thursday about a proposed multi-billion-dollar sports and entertainment district. The so-called Project Marvel has been in the planning stages behind closed doors for a year and a half and may include a new arena for the Spurs. Assistant City Manager Lori Houston says the project in the Hemisphere area may cost as much as $4 billion. No word yet as to how much of that may be paid for by public tax dollars. The Dallas Cowboys lost their 5th straight and remain winless at home, falling to the Texans 34-10. Here's Cowboys quarterback Cooper Rush.
We just got to get the ball in the end zone, keep shooting ourselves in the foot. had a couple chances, a couple momentum there in the second half, especially that we just didn't punch it in.
Prior to the game, a large piece of metal fell from the roof of AT&T Stadium onto the field. The roof will remain closed until officials determine it is safe to reopen. It is 6:06. The Spurs host the Thunder tonight in the NBA Cup. The voice of the Spurs, Bill Schoening, has details in today's Spurs Report. And news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news on a Yacht Rock Tuesday with a big 6 o'clock hour that is upon us. Among the people you'll hear from in this 6 o'clock hour at 6:40, White House correspondent John Decker, as President-elect Donald Trump is expected to declare a national emergency to implement his mass deportation. And with a national emergency, that would mean he could use the military and very well may use the military as part of that effort. That'll be at 6:40. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days at 6:48. Coming up, we mark the 1,000th day since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, 2022. That was 1,000 days ago today. First, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today's high in the low to mid 80s, tomorrow low 70s, and on Thursday low to mid 70s. It is 50 degrees in New Braunfels, Texas, 50 at Fort Sam, Houston, and 48 now here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time 612.
Bread is the name of the band on a Yacht Rock Tuesday. I always wondered where they got that name when they were forming the band.
Yeah, you think sandwich would have been better.
Yeah, bread.
Yeah, bread by itself is kind of boring.
Yeah, maybe they thought they'd make some bread.
That's possible.
Which they did. Popular band. The day was February 24th, 2022. 1,000 days ago today. That is the day that Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. A war charity that at the time, reportedly, Vladimir Putin and that Russian army believed that Ukraine would fall quickly and that the war would be over in a matter of weeks. And certainly that has not been the case.
Yeah, and Ukraine has had a lot of help, is relying heavily on allies, including the U.S., which we just gave Kyiv permission to use long-range American missiles to strike within Russia. And in response, Putin has approved an update to Russia's nuclear doctrine, which essentially says that any massive aerial attack on Russia could trigger a nuclear response from Russia. So things are only getting uglier. We're 1,000 days in, and this war shows no sign of ending. You have now North Korea involved with some 10,000 troops. This is getting ugly really quickly.
Yeah, it's and it's unbelievable. According to Reuters, since the war has started, Ukraine's population has declined by a quarter. That's not counting. That's not all casualties. A lot of people have left the area seeking refuge abroad. Not to mention, I mentioned the thousands and hundreds of thousands of wounded and possibly killed soldiers in this war. I mean, 1,000 days, that's a long, long time.
And Mr. T, you're talking about the numbers. More than 10 million Ukrainians have been displaced in the last 1,000 days. 6.7 million of them found refuge in other European countries. About 400,000 arrived in other European countries in the first months of this war, the first 6 months of this war alone. And Charity, we talked about it yesterday, just the thought of President Joe Biden now approving of Ukraine being able to launch long-range United States-built missiles deeper into Russia, which could kill Russian civilians. I just think that's a horribly bad idea. And I think to do it in mid-November, just 60-something days out from the Trump administration taking power, is just stupid. I think we should certainly wait on something as big as that could certainly provoke Russia into doing something in retaliation toward America until the new president takes office.
Yeah, and as far as we know, Ukraine has not used those long-range American missiles yet. But anything could happen, and you just wonder what action President-elect Trump takes once he takes office. And he said in the past, he can bring this war to an end, but he hasn't exactly elaborated on how he would go about doing that.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they're waiting for that, before they start using our missiles. If they're waiting for Donald Trump in 62 days, can they wait that long? Is one question, and will they wait that long to see what his plan is to end this war abruptly?
And the reverse of that, Mr. T, think about it, because we've heard that Donald Trump's not happy with all of the money we've sent to Ukraine, and certainly a lot of Republicans are against spending as much money as we've spent on Ukraine. So if you're Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, you might say, hey, I better use these missiles quickly
or I
before
might not
Trump
be able
gets
to
into
use them at
office
all.
and tells
Yeah.
us we can't do this. So my goodness, we're staying on this. I can't believe we're at day 1,000 of this war. And as developments take place, we will bring them to you right here on 1200 WOAI. Coming up, a local brewery going to stop selling its beer in retail locations. We'll tell you about that coming up. We'll get you caught up on headlines, traffic, weather, and more. WOAI News Time, 6:17. Oh, we went long there. San Antonio's first news coming up. A favorite among beer connoisseurs in San Antonio is ending retail distribution. We'll tell you about that coming up. First, Charity, what stories are you following?
President-elect Trump will join Elon Musk for today's SpaceX launch of its Starship prototype. Governor Abbott issues a new executive order involving Chinese dissidents. In addition to another Cowboys loss, parts of AT&T Stadium appear to be crumbling. We'll have details now, traffic and weather.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Highs today in the low to mid 80s. Highs tomorrow in the low 70s. Thursday, low to mid 70s. 50 degrees at Lackland Air Force Base. 50 degrees in China Grove, and 48 here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time, 622.
San Antonio's first news. It is a Yacht Rock Tuesday. Coming up at 6:40, White House correspondent John Decker on President-elect Donald Trump's plans to implement a mass deportation. Charlie Parker at 6:48 with Those Were the Days. And Charity, Mr. T, and I have been known on a Friday after the show to have a beer or three or maybe four. And it's the end of the show. It's the end of the week, and we have a meeting, and occasionally there's some beer involved. And I must admit, some of it, Charity, has been a Freetail beer that one of us might have purchased at an HEB. And by the end of this year, we will not be able, Charity, to purchase beer from the Freetail Brewing Company at retail locations anymore.
That's a bummer. That definitely takes the convenience out of getting your favorite Freetail beer, but there is still the brew pubs you can go to, the one off of 1604 near Camp Bolus and the one in the King William neighborhood off of South Prussia. I'm sure they'll still serve their beer and have some available for purchase, but it's a bummer. I mean, breweries all over the city are taking a hit. I know Alamo Brewery is considering selling its East Side location, and it just seems like everyone is taking a big hit when it comes to local craft brewers.
And that's unfortunate because, Freetail does make some very, very good beer. And here's my suggestion. If you're wanting to stock up, you've got until the end of the year. You can hit HEB, Specs has it. Just go load up.
Load up.
Get a truck and fill it up.
That's a good idea. All right. Coming up, John Decker, White House correspondent, covering President-elect Donald Trump's it's expected he will declare a national emergency when he implements his mass deportation program, probably right after he takes the oath of office on January 20th. He'll tell us what we know right now about that plan. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days, and Charity coming at you at the bottom of the hour with all the big stories you need to know about on this Tuesday morning. WOAI News Time, 625.
6:30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, SpaceX planned launch will have some presidential power, and HEB's Christmas tree arrives downtown. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85, tonight's low 53, right now 48 degrees. President-elect Trump is slated to visit Texas after unveiling his choice for transportation secretary. Here's Fox's Peter Ducey.
His broader focus in Texas in the coming months is going to be on the border. He confirmed on Truth Social with a true followed by 3 exclamation marks post from Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, who wrote, "Good news. Reports are that the incoming Trump administration is prepared to declare a national emergency and will use military assets to reverse the Biden invasion through a mass deportation program." Trump named his choice as the transportation secretary. It is the former Wisconsin congressman, father of 9, and until very recently, our Fox colleague, Sean Duffy.
Meantime, Trump is expected to be in South Texas today for the 6th launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype. The FAA has issued flight restrictions for the Boca Chica Beach and Brownsville areas this afternoon for VIP movement. Several sources confirm that the restrictions are for Trump, who's expected to fly in just before the launch window opens at 4 p.m. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russian troops poured into the country on February 24th of 2022 in a massive escalation of a conflict that started in 2014. Ukraine has depended heavily on support from allies, including the U.S., which reportedly just gave Kyiv permission to use long-range American missiles on strikes deeper inside Russia. Well, the trial continues in Georgia today for the man accused in the murder of Laken Riley. Here's Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Prosecution witness, University of Georgia officer Wesley Durkett, testifying in court in Athens that he analyzed data from Laken Riley's Garmin watch that tracked her on February 22nd, her movement on the Ocati Forest walking trails, her speed and heart rate, in what prosecutors say was an 18-minute fight for her life.
When did her heart rate drop to 0?
So it went to 0 at 9:28 and 23 seconds.
Prosecutors say Venezuelan national Jose Ibarra's fingerprint was found on her phone, his DNA on her fingernails. Ibarra opting for a bench trial on numerous felony counts for which he's pled not guilty. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Governor Abbott is countering efforts by the Chinese government to force dissidents to return to China. Abbott issued an executive order Monday that directs state troopers to arrest Chinese government operatives trying to intimidate or harass Chinese pro-democracy activists living abroad. The Chinese government initiative called Operation Fox Hunt sometimes even forcibly repatriates dissidents and government officials. The U.S. Justice Department has prosecuted people involved in the Chinese initiative. Well, measles cases are skyrocketing, according to a new report from the World Health Organization, which shows a 20% spike. Experts say the rise started during the COVID pandemic.
We have an expansion of this anti-vaccine movement that arose out of the U.S., and I fear it's globalizing.
Baylor infectious disease expert Dr. Peter Hotez says that vaccine skepticism is showing no signs of slowing. He points to Trump's nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to run the Department of Health and Human Services. RFK Jr. has pushed to debunk claims of a link between vaccines and autism. The Texas Attorney General's office is defending the new Texas law to limit access to pornography as minimal requirements to verify a person's age. LP Phillips has more.
HB 1181 is in effect and is being challenged on First Amendment grounds. The state wants to make sure children don't have access to graphic and often violent pornographic material. To that end, the law requires an adult to verify they're over 18. And that's when the fight started. Opponents say the state has no business collecting any data on those who are of age and legally watching a protected site, and they worry about the consequences down the road. In its latest legal filing, the state is urging the Supreme Court to uphold what the AG argues are modest requirements for age verification.
The Texas State Board of Education has approved a controversial elementary school curriculum that has been under fire for leaning heavily on stories from the Bible. Conservative groups say this should not be controversial.
Religious references are in no way religious instruction. The Supreme Court has been clear about this.
Jonathan Covey is with the group Texas Values. The English and Language Arts curriculum, which runs through 5th grade, is optional, but school districts get a bonus if they adopt it. Its backers include Governor Abbott, who has said that the Bible is a fundamental text in American history. The HEB Christmas tree scheduled to be delivered and put in place at Travis Park today. City officials say Pecan Street between Navarro and Jefferson will be closed from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. so crews can move the 40-foot Oregon fir to the park. The tree will be decorated with more than 10,000 white lights and other decorations. The annual HEB tree lighting at Travis Park is on the Friday after Thanksgiving. And frying a turkey for Thanksgiving has become popular through the years, especially in the South. Melanie Brown reports.
According to a survey, 3% of people plan to deep fry their turkey this Thanksgiving. Courtney Klosterman, a home insights expert with Hippo.com, says one of the biggest mistakes people make is frying the turkey in an enclosed area.
Just avoid deep frying that turkey indoors at all. This includes in your garage or in any other outbuilding. Try and do this outside in your backyard or in your front yard, away from any flammable object.
And make sure the turkey is completely thawed out before you submerge it in hot oil. The most popular way of cooking a Thanksgiving turkey remains roasting it in the oven. 74% of people say they plan to do that.
It is 6:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money and the world of business. Courtney Donahoe is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thanks, Courtney. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news on a Yacht Rock Tuesday. Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman. I'm Chris Duell. Charlie Parker coming up with Those Were the Days at 6:48. But right now, let's check in with White House correspondent and attorney John Decker, who is following the story of President-elect Donald Trump's expected national emergency declaration in his mass deportation program. How do we know, John, that the president is considering declaring a national emergency?
Well, he doesn't keep this a secret. He put it out on social media. He indicated that yesterday, and I take him at his word. I believe that his very first day in office, when he's sworn in as president on January the 20th of next year, his first action, or one of his first actions on that first day in office, is to sign an executive order, an executive action declaring a national emergency as it relates to illegal immigration. And he would like to use that national emergency to essentially deputize the National Guard to help out in this mass deportation of a significant number. When I say significant, I'm talking 11 million people, it's estimated, are in this country illegally. And that is a massive effort. It would cost tens of billions of dollars to deport all of those people.
John, do we know what's involved in finding these illegal immigrants? Are they in a database? And is it violent criminals that are specifically being targeted?
Well, Tom Homan, who has already been named as Donald Trump's border czar, has indicated that the people that you described, those violent criminals, they are at the top of the list. They are the first priority. It's not just, people that are in the country illegally going about their lives, going about their jobs, sometimes with their family. It's the people that are in this country who either committed crimes here or they committed crimes from the places that they entered from into the United States.
And John, how do sanctuary cities play into this?
Well, sanctuary cities play a part or a role in this in the sense that we know that because of that status, there are individuals who are in this country illegally who have essentially moved to those cities, thinking that they are protected from the possibility of mass deportations. And I think there are a lot of questions as to how this process would play itself out if Donald Trump went down this road. Certainly, I must tell you, there would be a significant number of legal challenges to this, not certain as to whether or not what Donald Trump contemplates, not just declaring a national emergency on immigration, perfectly permissible for the president to do that. The issue is deputizing the National Guard, whether that is legal and constitutional, moving money that is earmarked from the Pentagon to use for this mass deportation. I think that would be permissible based upon Supreme Court precedent. But the question is, it's certainly when you're talking about 11 million plus people, obviously you need a significant number of individuals to help out in this deportation process. And that's where the president believes that the U.S. military comes into play.
So, John, if he does deputize the National Guard, and then there are legal challenges probably immediately about the constitutionality of doing that, would he then have to stop and wait for the courts to decide, or could he proceed with the National Guard implementing his orders until the courts make a decision?
Well, it depends how the courts, it's up to individual judges. Sometimes it's up to individual courts, in terms of whether or not what the president contemplates can proceed while the legal challenges play themselves out. Typically, there is a TRO, a temporary restraining order, which would put on pause the president's efforts to carry out this mass deportation plan. And if those legal challenges do have those, TROs attached to them, that makes it difficult, if not impossible, for the president to carry out with those programs immediately.
And aside from the legal and logistical challenges, John, how could this impact the U.S. economy's bottom line?
Well, I think that's something that people don't think about. Everything that we get on our dinner table every night in terms of fruits and vegetables, it's because of this part of society that we don't think about that much. It's migrants who pick our fruit, pick our vegetables. Without them, certainly there would be an impact on the economy, an impact in terms of labor shortages, an impact in terms of what we would see. There are some estimates, that indicate that it would impact our GDP in a negative sense by negative 1% if you have this mass deportation program. Obviously, the Trump administration, Donald Trump, is looking past that, and that's the reason why the president-elect is so adamant in terms of going forward with this proposal.
Great reporting and analysis from White House correspondent and attorney John Decker. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days coming right up. WOAI News Time 646.
President-elect Trump is vowing a mass deportation of illegal immigrants using military assets. Boca Chica Beach will get a visit from Trump for today's SpaceX launch, and City Council set to get briefed on Project Marvel. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and on Thursday. Highs today in the low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 70s, and on Thursday, low to mid 70s. 49 degrees at the Pearl, 49 at Randolph Air Force Base, and 46 here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time 6:54.
San Antonio's first news on a Yacht Rock Tuesday. We are giving away Longhorn tickets. It's a Longhorn Tuesday. There are tickets for the Longhorns' final regular season home game this coming Saturday as they host Kentucky at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. And the way you can win those tickets, we want to know, what are your Thanksgiving traditions? Charity, how would they let us know what their Thanksgiving traditions are?
The free iHeartRadio app. Once you get it, it's free. Launch it. Search 1200 WOAI. Look for that red circle. That's the talkback button. Once you hit it, it's like leaving a voicemail. 30 seconds to sound off.
And you'll sound like this.
Good morning, WOAI crew. Big O here. We wake up about 6. The missus starts cooking food, usually the night before. Get it all done. We have an early lunch. And the Nana and Grandma are at the table. We pray over the food. We watch football. And once the games are over, we watch planes, trains, and automobiles. We watch it. Try to watch it at least twice. Can't get enough of Steve Martin and John Candy. Have a great day, y'all.
It's a classic.
That is cool.
That
Pick
is
a
very
movie,
cool.
have a family traditional movie for Thanksgiving. Planes, trains, and automobiles. I like it, Big O.
All right, here's another one.
Good morning on this Longhorn Tuesday. I am very grateful not to be trying to win tickets. I get to sit in my dad's seats, even though he's been in heaven for years. Really looking forward to the UT Aggie tradition of a Thanksgiving weekend game. And also around our table, we always have questions that spur us to think about why we're grateful and thankful. And I love that. Have a great day.
That's too cool.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, we didn't get your Thanksgiving tradition.
Not, nothing nearly as profound as what Kemper just told us, and I love, and very similar to the thankful tree we heard about earlier in the program, people telling why they're thankful on Thanksgiving. Two things that I just remember as a kid, because there's so much football on television. Yep. At some point, you have to go out into the yard, typically the front yard, and throw the football, have a little touch football game. Yeah. And then now, until recently, because I just came out last night as a Houston Texans fan, I ended my 6 decades long fanship of the Cowboys because they drove me to it. Thank you, Jerry Jones. Thank you for nothing, Jerry Jones. But we used to, the tradition was the Thanksgiving meal has to be complete before the Cowboys game, or it has to be served after the Cowboys game. So the Cowboys game would dictate. It did for decades.
Not anymore.
Yeah, now it's like, okay, I can miss it. It's not that big a deal anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like leftovers are part of the tradition. And like you have to have the turkey sandwich the next day or maybe later that same day, whatever you prefer. But that's a big tradition for our household as well, is you got to make sure you fry up the bacon because you want those turkey bacon sandwiches the next day.
That does sound good. Our tradition on the leftovers is turkey and dumplings.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, my sister and my mom usually do that. It's always fun.
Very, very cool.
Good stuff.
Yes. So keep them coming. We're going to pick our favorite Thanksgiving tradition talk back and you're going to win that a pair of tickets to see the Longhorns against Kentucky this Saturday in Austin. And Charity and Mr. T, we've talked about it for a long time, but last night was the night I finally, because I saw Texans versus Cowboys on the schedule.
Yep.
And I think it would have been more meaningful because I decided to do this when Dak Prescott was still healthy.
Yes.
I knew it's like they're going to tear our hearts out again. I'm going to preemptively on November 18th when the Cowboys play the Texans end my 6 decades long journey as a Cowboys fan because Jerry Jones, his mismanagement of this team. He's a con man and a liar. We're all in. We're all in this year. No, you
all in what?
You didn't do anything.
All in what, though?
You other than pay a whole lot of money to Dak.
Maybe
and
that's what he meant.
Lamb. Yeah, maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Texans win 34-10. Joe Mixon goes crazy with 3 touchdowns. But Charity, when you do come out as a Texans fan, I noticed the hardest part is explaining it to your family because you don't know which family members, how they're going to react. And I some of my family members were very accepting that I'm a Cowboys fan now, but some of them are having a hard time with it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll understand. I mean, especially when you have the symbolic piece of metal falling from the roof of the AT&T Stadium. I mean, that just kind of sums up everything that's wrong with this team.
That's so true.
Yeah. What a sign. That was your sign right there that the Cowboys are falling apart. That's your sign.
The Cowboys are falling apart. AT&T Stadium is falling apart. So true. Coming up at 7:10 on a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough go to visit Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and they explain why, kind of a shocker, 2 of the most liberal hosts on MSNBC, are they ready to board the Trump train? We'll talk about that, and we'll react to what they have to say. But right now, Charity McCurdy with all the big stories that you need to know on this Tuesday morning, because WOAI News Time is 7 o'clock.
Seven o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Trump is heading to Texas and San Antonio's airport goes high tech. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in the mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85. Tonight's low 53. Right now 48 degrees. President-elect Donald Trump's expected to come to Texas for today's SpaceX Starship launch. Here's Fox's Kristen Goodwin.
The Federal Aviation Administration issuing temporary flight restrictions over Brownsville and Boca Chica, Texas, sparking speculation the president-elect will be in the area to watch SpaceX test its massive Starship rocket. The 30-minute launch window kicks off at 4 p.m. Central Time. Folks can watch live on the SpaceX site. The company's CEO, Elon Musk, has been at the president-elect's side the last few weeks, even attending meetings with congressional Republicans. The president-elect recently tapping Musk and former GOP presidential primary rival Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, an outside government group aimed at slashing the budget and scaling back the federal workforce. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And President-elect Trump is picking former Wisconsin Rep. Sean Duffy for the role of Transportation Secretary. Duffy served in the House for 8 years and was a member of the Financial Services Committee. He left the House in 2019 after one of his children had a heart condition and currently hosts a show on Fox Business. President Biden is being slammed for authorizing Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles to strike targets inside Russia. Here's Missouri Senator Josh Hawley speaking with Fox News.
Looks like a green light for escalation on the part of Ukraine and then Russia, as you pointed out. What would happen if Russia would launch and retaliate missiles into the territory of a NATO member? then our treaty obligations would be triggered. Then we're talking about a full-scale war. I can't imagine that President Trump wants that. He's been totally against it.
And Trump has promised a swift end to the war in Ukraine, but it's unclear how he plans to make that happen. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Meantime, Trump is vowing a mass deportation of illegal immigrants, which has some farmers worried about a lack of manpower to pick the crops. Brian Shook has more.
Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez says that agriculture workers should not be the focus. He joined the weekend talk shows to say that convicted criminals should be targeted. Some Democratic leaders are standing against the president-elect. The governor of Massachusetts says that state police will not assist with deportation efforts. I'm Brian Shook.
Well, a record number of Americans are planning to travel over the Thanksgiving holiday. AAA expects nearly 80 million people will drive and fly between Tuesday, November 26th and Monday, December 2nd. That's about 1.7 million more than last year. A newly proposed ambitious sports entertainment district, complete with a new arena for the Spurs, will go before the city council this week. Eric Lycum has details.
The new sports entertainment district in the southeast corner of downtown San Antonio has been dubbed Project Marvel and has the expected price tag of around $4 billion. The makeover would include Hemisphere and surrounding areas. On Thursday, San Antonio City Council will probe specifics to determine feasibility and potential funding sources, which could include voters.
Based on how Bexar County has voted the last several cycles, anything that includes more taxes or more governmental control passes with flying colors.
Speaking on the News 4 Sneakers and Cleats podcast, sports director Chuck McKatenick says the funding model may be different this time, with developers fronting costs and then recouping them from retail tax revenues. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
San Antonio International Airport is the first in the nation to use a new advanced technology service in its parking garage. Airport officials announced the new system yesterday. A private company called Metropolis runs the parking system, which eliminates check-in and check-out. Travelers can enroll their car's license plate at the company website, which stores the info for future trips, and travelers can also reserve a parking spot ahead of time. It is 7:06. The Spurs host the Thunder tonight in the NBA Cup. The voice of the Spurs, Bill Schoening, has more in today's Spurs Insider, brought to you by Germ Logic. Today's Spurs Insider brought to you by Germ Logic. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news. Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman, Charlie Parker at 7:50 with us. I'm Chris Duell. Coming up, wait till you hear this. Now, Mr. T, you've just seen a breaking news report that could be very, very important.
Yeah, Moscow's defense ministry claims that Ukraine has carried out its first strike on a Russian territory using those U.S.-supplied long-range weapons. They hit a military facility in the Bryansk region.
This after Vladimir Putin readjusted the nuclear doctrine, Russia's nuclear doctrine. We're going to dive into that this half hour. This could be a very foreboding development in the war between Ukraine and Russia. Coming up, a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This. Right now, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today's highs in the low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 70s. Thursday, low to mid 70s. It is 48 degrees in Alamo Heights, 46 in New Braunfels, and 47 here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time 710.
San Antonio's first news. Normally at this time, we do a segment called Wait Till You Hear This. However, with a major development in the war between Russia and Ukraine, I want to get reaction from Charity McCurdy and from Mr. T, Tim Merriman, as Moscow's defense ministry is now claiming this morning that Ukraine has carried out its first strike on Russian territory using American-supplied long-range missiles. Now, Charity, as you know, this comes on the heel of Vladimir Putin issuing a new nuclear doctrine that says if a non-nuclear country, that meaning Ukraine in this case, uses the weapons from a nuclear country, meaning the United States, to fire into the Russian homeland, which the defense ministry is saying just happened, that Putin now says they would regard that as a direct act of war and aggression from that country that has nuclear capabilities. This is very chilling and a new development in this war between Russia and Ukraine.
And we were wondering if Ukraine was going to wait before using those U.S.-made long-range missiles. But if this report is indeed accurate, I mean, we're talking about a massive escalation. And this comes on the day that this marks the 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. So you wonder where things go from here as far as, Russian President Vladimir Putin's seemingly warmer relationship with President-elect Trump. Does he wait for any form of retaliation in terms of using a nuclear weapon until Trump takes office in hopes that Trump will end this war between Russia and Ukraine and in a way that would favor Russia? Again, there's so many unanswered questions, but this is clearly a massive escalation.
Yeah, and according to the Russian Defense Ministry, also they say they shot down 5 of those missiles, but fragments of another fell into the technical territory of a military facility in the Bryansk region, causing a fire that was extinguished. No casualties or damage has been reported so far, but it's still firing U.S. missiles into Russia.
Yeah, lots of things to unpack here. Number one, this report is coming from Moscow's defense ministry. Yeah. So certainly in times of war, you've got to fact check whatever any side is saying. But if we assume that report is correct, and it is being reported by major news organizations as we speak, including NBC News, I'm looking at their story right now. First of all, Mr. T, what you just outlined, the fact that there are no casualties reported yet, the fact that it was a military installation and it was not a civilian area and not civilian casualties, that's a little better than had this been shot or landed in a civilian area and killed civilians. But Charity, I still think that President Joe Biden is playing with fire here by allowing U.S.-made missiles to be fired deep into Russia. And I do believe that even though President-elect Trump is not in office yet and will not be until January 20th, if he disagrees with this policy, I wish he would speak out, because as you pointed out moments ago, he seems to have a better relationship with Vladimir Putin. Add that to the fact that on the campaign trail, he said he would end this war between Russia and Ukraine. I think it might be time for Donald Trump to exert his influence here, even though he's not yet president of the United States.
I just question why President Biden decided to make this decision now. It's like starting a dumpster fire and then walking away. I think we need further explanation. Obviously, you have North Korea now involved in the conflict with 10,000 troops training alongside Russian forces. But again, I just feel like this could quickly escalate to the point where Russia deploys nukes with the changing of the nuclear doctrine by Vladimir Putin, which is pretty much giving any excuse to trigger a nuclear response if there's any kind of aerial attack on Russia.
And remember, Russia has nuclear submarines, and even though Russia's a long way away, Russia has multiple capabilities through its missiles and through its submarines to get very, very close to the homeland here, the United States of America. We'll continue to track this story. Keep it here on 1200 WOAI for the latest on the war between Russia and Ukraine, a war 1,000 days old today, 1,000 days since Russia launched its full-scale assault on and invasion in Ukraine. We're going to continue to track this story. We're going to continue to bring you the absolute latest. Keep it right here on 1200 WOAI, where our news time is 7:16. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, and Charity will update you the stories she is following, and a big one that we're talking about right now, breaking this morning. Moscow says Ukrainian forces have taken advantage of President Biden's green light, and they have launched 6 U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russian territory. This coming hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin updated their nuclear response policy. We'll dive into more about this coming right up. Right now, let's check in with Charity. Charity, what stories are you following?
According to Russian media, Ukraine has fired a U.S.-made long-range missile into Russia. President-elect Trump is expected to be in South Texas today for SpaceX's launch of the Starship prototype, and downtown San Antonio is starting to look a lot like Christmas. We'll have more right now, traffic and weather.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Highs today, low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 70s. And on Thursday, low to mid 70s. 48 degrees at the Pearl downtown, 48 in China Grove, and 47 here in Stone Oak. WOAI News Time 721.
San Antonio's first news. Normally at this time, we check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. He's brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. He will be joining us in less than an hour at 8:20, so you're not going to miss your Mike Opelka this morning. We wouldn't want to miss him either, but there is breaking news this morning. You just heard Charity McCurdy report on it. Moscow is saying that Ukrainian forces have fired U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russian territory. They are reporting, Moscow is reporting that 6 U.S.-made missiles have been launched into Russia. Charity, we've been talking about this since we learned that President Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to do this. And an ancillary development on this story was yesterday, just hours ago, as you look at Russian time, Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, said he would revise Russia's nuclear response policy, that he now says any non-nuclear nation that uses the military equipment of a nuclear nation to fire its weapons into Russia, Russia would regard that as an act of aggression by the nuclear nation, in this case, the United States, supplying these weapons to Ukraine.
Yeah, and Putin has warned the U.S. and our NATO allies that any use of long-range weapons supplied to the Ukrainians against Russia would mean NATO and Russia are at war. So you wonder, are we going to see more of these U.S.-made long-range missiles fired into Russia? It was Russian media that reported that Ukraine used these U.S.-made weapons. So we have not verified that that is indeed the case. But this clearly is a massive escalation, and it comes on the 1,000th day since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. And it's right now, we're waiting to see what Vladimir Putin does next in response.
Yeah, it's a dark day. I mean, 1,000 days into this war. And if they do this, this might have just triggered World War III, Chris.
You know, that is a powerful statement you just made, but I think it's accurate. Think about this. North Korean troops in Russia training to invade Ukraine. You have American missiles right now, American-made missiles, if this report is true. And at the very least, Moscow and Vladimir Putin want the world to know that they are saying it's true, that they're reporting 6 American-made missiles have been launched into Russia at military targets launched by Ukraine. You factor that in with what's going on in Israel, a war on two fronts against Gaza, on the other side of their country against Hezbollah in Lebanon. You know that Iran is backing Hezbollah and Iran, and they're exchanging missiles, and they have been for the last several weeks. And you talk about a response charity. If these missiles were launched into Russia, each time Iran lobbed missiles to Israel or Israel launched missiles toward Iran, there was a response. And if we're going to take Vladimir Putin at his word, he is viewing this now as an act of aggression by the United States and NATO.
And the Biden administration had authorized the use of these U.S.-made long-range missiles by Ukraine for limited strikes inside Russia. We would probably need to get more information to explain exactly what that means as far as limited. But should there be any casualties inside Russia, I think that's when everyone needs to be extremely concerned. I think Vladimir Putin will be more inclined to respond and hopefully not with the use of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what the limited use would be, but going after a military facility could be limited use instead of going after a civilian target.
Yeah, the dictate could be you can only use this on military targets and not fire them at civilians. But is Vladimir Putin down with that?
No, probably not.
And
probably
again,
not.
I want to hear a response. I imagine we will from President-elect Donald Trump, who has a much better relationship with Vladimir Putin, certainly than the Biden administration does. And Donald Trump has said many, many times on the campaign trail this year he would bring an end to this war if cooler heads can prevail here, and if Donald Trump can use his influence to influence Vladimir Putin here to not further escalate this, that would be a good thing. We're going to stay on this. We'll bring you the latest as more developments occur. I have a feeling they will. WOAI News Time 726.
7:31 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, Ukraine fires U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia, and Trump will attend today's SpaceX launch. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85, tonight's low 53, right now 48 degrees. Well, Moscow's defense ministry is claiming that Ukraine has carried out its first strike on Russian territory using U.S.-supplied long-range weapons hitting a military facility. It comes after President Biden authorized Ukraine to use the weapons for limited strikes. Russian President Vladimir Putin today approved an update of Russia's nuclear doctrine, which says that any massive aerial attack on Russia could trigger a nuclear response. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. President-elect Trump is slated to visit Texas after unveiling his choice for Transportation Secretary. Fox Peter Ducey has more.
His broader focus in Texas in the coming months is going to be on the border. He confirmed on Truth Social with a true followed by 3 exclamation marks post from Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, who wrote, "Good news. Reports are that the incoming Trump administration is prepared to declare a national emergency and will use military assets to reverse the Biden invasion through a mass deportation program." Trump named his choice as the transportation secretary. It is the former Wisconsin congressman, father of 9, and until very recently, our Fox colleague, Sean Duffy.
Meantime, Trump is expected to be in South Texas today for the 6th launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype. The FAA has issued flight restrictions for the Boca Chica Beach and Brownsville areas this afternoon for VIP movement. Several sources have confirmed that the restrictions are for Trump, who is expected to fly in just before the launch window opens at 4 p.m. The Texas Attorney General's office is defending the new Texas law to limit access to pornography. LP Phillips reports.
HB 1181 is in effect and is being challenged on First Amendment grounds. The state wants to make sure children don't have access to graphic and often violent pornographic material. To that end, the law requires an adult to verify they're over 18. And that's when the fight started. Opponents say the state has no business collecting any data on those who are of age and legally watching a protected site. And they worry about the consequences down the road. In its latest legal filing, the state is urging the Supreme Court to uphold what the AG argues are modest requirements for age verification.
Well, city staff will brief San Antonio City Council Thursday about a proposed multi-billion-dollar sports and entertainment district. The so-called Project Marvel has been in the planning stages behind closed doors for a year and a half and may include a new arena for the Spurs. Assistant City Manager Lori Houston says the project in the Hemisphere area may cost as much as $4 billion. No word yet as to how much of that may be paid for by public tax dollars. Measles cases are skyrocketing, according to a new report from the World Health Organization, which shows a 20% spike. Experts say the rise started during COVID.
We have an expansion of this anti-vaccine movement that arose out of the U.S., and I fear it's globalizing.
Baylor infectious disease expert Dr. Peter Hotez says that vaccine skepticism is showing no signs of slowing. He points to Trump's nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to run the Department of Health and Human Services. RFK Jr. has pushed debunk claims of a link between vaccines and autism. Governor Abbott is trying to thwart the Chinese government from forcing dissidents in the state to return to China. Eric Lycum has more.
Yesterday, Governor Abbott issued an executive order directing state troopers to arrest any Chinese government operatives who are harassing or intimidating Chinese pro-democracy activists. The Chinese reportedly forced repatriation of dissidents and officials living abroad in an initiative called Operation Fox Hunt. Abbott says, quote, Texas will not tolerate the harassment or coercion of more than 250,000 individuals of Chinese descent who legally call Texas home by the Chinese Communist Party or its heinous proxies, unquote. Eric Lycom, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The HEB Christmas tree scheduled to be delivered and put in place at Travis Park today. City officials say Pecan Street between Navarro and Jefferson will be closed from around 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. so crews can move the 40-foot Oregon fir to the park. The tree will be decorated with more than 10,000 white lights and other ornaments. The annual HEB tree lighting at Travis Park is on the Friday after Thanksgiving. It is 7:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money and the world of business. Courtney Donahoe is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thanks, Courtney. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news. We will continue to update the breaking story of Russia reporting that Ukraine has launched 6 American-made long-range missiles into Russian territory. Charlie Parker will join us at 7:50, but right now, let's check in with national correspondent Jack Crumley, excuse me, Jack. Jack, you've been tracking the murder trial of the illegal immigrant Venezuelan man accused of the murder of Laken Riley on the University of Georgia campus. What is the latest on that murder trial?
Yeah, so the prosecution continuing to present their case. It will likely rest their case today, and then the defense will take over. Timing-wise, it's not expected that defense presentation will take a terribly long time, and it is a bench trial. It's not a jury trial, so the judge will be the one deciding, and it seems likely that we'll have a ruling this week.
Jack, what is some of the concrete evidence in this case that shows Laken Riley fought for her life?
Well, some of the footage from the body cam and the police interrogation of Jose Ibarra following his arrest included investigators noticing some scratch marks on his hand and on his head. His response didn't have a great explanation for that to police, sort of blaming it on the cold because this happened in February. Police noticing that at least the one scratch on his wrist seemed fairly fresh, and this was in the relatively immediate aftermath of her death. Also, there's some evidence of clothing that was dumped off in a dumpster that allegedly had both Ibarra and Laken Riley's DNA on it. The clothing that the suspect seen on surveillance video dropping that clothing off in the dumpster seemed to match a selfie that Ibarra took as well.
And how significant is the fact that the data places the defendant's cell phone very close to Laken Riley at the time of the killing?
Yeah, I mean, that's also a big part of the prosecution's case. I think the role of technology in this trial overall is pretty interesting. She was out running. She activated an SOS feature on her phone at about 9:10 a.m. She was wearing a smartwatch, so that's monitoring heart rate and things, and was showing that, she was running and then was running faster for a little bit before the GPS elements of the phone showed that she stopped moving. It's monitoring her heart rate and was able to show that her heart stopped at 9:28 a.m. And then also part of the prosecution's case showing that the GPS on Ibarra's phone was geographically very close to Laken Riley's phone at the time of the incident.
Our thanks to national correspondent Jack Crumley. Meanwhile, we continue to track a breaking story. News agency in Moscow is reporting that Ukraine has fired 6 United States-made long-range missiles into Russian territory. Charity, you've been reporting on this. It is reportedly has been targeted at military targets, a military installation. But again, this happening just 2 days after President Joe Biden approved Ukraine's use of long-range American-made missiles to be launched into Russia, and coming less than a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin said he is updating Russia's nuclear response policy to hold any country responsible for the weapons manufactured in that country if they are fired into Russia. In that case, of course, this would mean the United States. And as you documented earlier, Charity, this would also hold NATO responsible.
Yeah. And the Biden administration authorized the use of these U.S.-made long-range missiles for limited strikes within Russia. So that could include these military facilities. This report is coming from Russian media. We have not gotten confirmation from Ukraine that they indeed use these U.S.-made long-range missiles, but clearly a massive escalation in this war. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began, and now we wait to see how Russian President Vladimir Putin will respond on the same day that he updated that nuclear doctrine for its country.
So we've all been wondering, what would Joe Biden's legacy be when he leaves office? He can actually point back and say, look, I did that. Because if this turns into World War III because of this decision he made, he did that.
And you mentioned again, and I think you're right to bring it up, Mr. T, World War III. We look at history, and World War I was started by something much less seemingly impactful, the assassination of an Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, that led to dominoes falling and the beginning of World War I. Here we are in 2024, and a lot of people lately have been talking about World War III. We've heard some people say it might already be underway. If you look at North Korean troops in Russia headed into Ukraine, you look at Iran as a proxy for Hezbollah attacking Israel and vice versa, and now American missiles being fired into Russia at the behest of Ukraine. My God, it is just a very complex situation. And again, I'm going to be very interested to hear a response, hopefully today, from President-elect Donald Trump, who A, has a better relationship with Vladimir Putin, and B, has said throughout his campaign that he would work to bring an end to this war, now 1,000 days old, between Russia and Ukraine. We'll continue to follow it. Charlie Parker coming up as well. In the next segment, we'll talk with Charlie Parker, WOAI News Time 746. Charlie Parker joins us in studio next. First, Charity. What stories are you following?
Russia's claiming Ukraine fired U.S.-made missiles into the country. President-elect Trump is expected to be in South Texas today for the 6th launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype. And a new sports district will be a hot topic at this week's City Council meeting. We'll have details right now, traffic and weather.
Beautiful day in store. Lots of sunshine. Highs in the low to mid 80s. It is 47 degrees. WOAI news time 7:51.
Rocking around the Christmas tree, a man who I think is already in the Christmas spirit, the one and only Charlie Parker. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning. I've been in the Christmas spirit since December 26th, 2023. I stay in the Christmas spirit. All right, we'll talk some Christmas tree facts for you coming up. First of all, last night, Monday Night Football, Cowboys lose to the Texans. Cowboys are still winless at home, and that was the first road win for the Texans this year.
Wow.
College Football Playoff Committee, third release of rankings tonight, 6 o'clock ESPN. Something you need to remember is where you are ranked does not mean that's where you're going to be seeded when the 12 teams begin their playoffs on December 20th. Circle that on your calendar. It's a little confusing, but they explain it every Tuesday night on ESPN. Now we move into Christmas trees. As you guys know,
yes,
maybe everybody doesn't know, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're headed to New York City. Me, my wife, my youngest daughter, her husband, and my grandbaby. I wanted to make sure that my granddaughter's very first Christmas, when she grows up, she can say, my very first Christmas, I went to Rockefeller Center in New York City and saw the big giant Christmas tree.
Cool.
Okay.
So Saturday night when we were talking about that, I asked my daughter to Google and find out what are the largest, I wanted to know where Rockefeller Center's tree ranked. What are the largest Christmas trees in America? The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree comes in at number 5.
Wow.
At 74 feet.
Okay.
It's from Massachusetts, 11 tons. They've had trees at Rockefeller Center as tall as 82 feet, but this year's is 72. Number 4 is at the Citadel Outlets in California, but it's an artificial tree. So I don't know if that counts or not.
Not when you're talking about the height of a tree, no.
But it's 115 feet.
Okay.
Number 3, third tallest tree in America, Christmas tree.
Yes.
Enid, Oklahoma.
Ooh.
140 feet.
Where's that one at?
Enid, Oklahoma.
Oh, just in the city square or whatever?
I don't know anything about
Not a
Oklahoma.
big town. You can find it.
You can probably find it. Just
exactly.
look up.
Right.
That's almost half a football field.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big tree. It's a big tree.
Number 2 is in DeSoto, Louisiana.
Wow.
300 feet.
Oh, my goodness.
That's 28 stories. That's
Wow.
a football field.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then stand it on in.
Wow.
That's how big the tree is. The number 1 tallest Christmas tree in the United States of America is just southwest of Colorado Springs in Colorado, Salida, Colorado. It's on a mountainside. The tree is Yeah,
It's still growing?
Still growing.
Oh, wow.
But they
decorate
decorate it up.
Wow.
What do you think? Number 2 is 300 feet.
I'll go with 472.
I'll go 425.
Charity, go higher.
800.
You're closer.
Wow.
But you're over.
Wow.
750 feet.
My
Whoa.
goodness.
That's a skyscraper.
That's 2.5 football fields.
That's a skyscraper.
That's a huge ass. I don't know who painters, roofers, and helicopters.
Yeah,
I guess.
who puts the star on top?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, they put it on when they start planting it, and it just grows up.
keeps going up.
That way they don't have to get up to the top of it. Yeah.
Smart.
The largest Christmas tree. How big is the Christmas tree, the HEB Christmas tree in San Antonio?
I don't know.
I think it's like almost 60 feet or something like that.
Okay. Well, I thought we had that earlier. I thought y'all were talking about that.
Yeah, it's, I believe it is 40 feet.
That was close. 60,
40. Not bad.
No.
The largest Christmas tree in the state of Texas is at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth.
Okay.
74 feet. So same height as the one that's at Rockefeller Center. I don't think it's probably as wide, and I don't know if it's live or if it's artificial.
I would say Texas is live.
You
that's
would
my
hope
guess.
so. You would hope so.
Yes.
But think about all the Texans that have artificial trees in their living rooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, you're not doing it right.
Mhm.
The largest Christmas tree in the world.
Oh, okay. 1,200 feet in Dubai.
1,100 feet.
Charity, go higher.
I'm going to go 1,500 feet.
You didn't go high enough.
2,000.
2,000.
Wow. In Dubai?
It, like the tree in Salida, Colorado, is on a mountainside.
Okay.
Live tree growing in the ground. 2,000 feet in Gubbio, Italy.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
nice. Nice.
Leave it to the Italians to
I
win
think-
Christmas.
Yeah, I think the population of Gubbio, Italy is like about 1,700. But the tree, again, growing on
That's huge.
a mountainside.
And I'll bet they have great pizza.
Yes.
Oh, I guarantee
The Italian
it.
food is amazing. They just call it food.
Probably got like a food truck sitting off on the side when they light the tree up. Get your pizza and your, what's that Italian ice cream?
Gelato.
Yeah, gelato.
Nice. We might need a road
Spumoni.
trip.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking one in December.
That's right. He's going to see the
Not
big
to Italy.
Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Our thanks to Charlie Parker. Coming up, more on this breaking story. Russia is saying that Ukraine has launched at least 6 American long-range missiles into Russian territory, targeting military targets. We'll talk about that coming up. Charity will have the latest at the top of the hour. WOAI News Time, 7:58.
8 o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, an escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine, and President-elect Trump is coming to Texas. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85, tonight's low 53. Get a move on. It is 48 degrees. Moscow's defense ministry is claiming that Ukraine has carried out its first strike on Russian territory using U.S.-supplied long-range weapons, hitting a military facility. It comes after President Biden authorized Ukraine to use the weapons for limited strikes. Here's Missouri Senator Josh Hawley speaking with Fox's Laura Ingram.
Looks like a green light for escalation on the part of Ukraine and then Russia, as you pointed out. What would happen if Russia would launch and retaliate missiles into the territory of a NATO member? Then our treaty obligations would be triggered. Then we're talking about a full-scale war. I can't imagine that President Trump wants that. He's been totally against it.
Russian President Vladimir Putin today approved an update of Russia's nuclear doctrine, which says that any massive aerial attack on Russia could trigger a nuclear response. Today marks 1,000 days since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. President-elect Trump may be coming to Texas for today's SpaceX Starship launch. Here's Fox's Kristen Goodwin.
The Federal Aviation Administration issuing temporary flight restrictions over Brownsville and Boca Chica, Texas, sparking speculation the president-elect will be in the area to watch SpaceX test its massive Starship rocket. The 30-minute launch window kicks off at 4 p.m. Central Time. Folks can watch live on the SpaceX site. The company's CEO, Elon Musk, has been at the president-elect's side the last few weeks, even attending meetings with congressional Republicans. The president-elect recently tapping Musk and former GOP presidential primary rival Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, an outside government group aimed at slashing the budget and scaling back the federal workforce. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And Trump is picking former Wisconsin Rep. Sean Duffy for the role of Transportation Secretary. Duffy served in the House from 2011 to 2019 and was a member of the Financial Services Committee. He left the House in 2019 after one of his children had a heart condition and currently hosts a show on Fox Business. Meantime, Trump is vowing a mass deportation of illegal immigrants, which has some farmers worried about a lack of manpower to pick the crops. Brian Shook has more.
Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez says that agriculture workers should not be the focus. He joined the weekend talk shows to say that convicted criminals should be targeted. Some Democratic leaders are standing against the president-elect. The governor of Massachusetts says that state police will not assist with deportation efforts. I'm Brian Shook.
Prosecutors in President-elect Trump's New York criminal hush money case are set to tell the court today how they think things should proceed after the election. Last week, the judge delayed ruling on Trump's argument for presidential immunity following his election win. Trump is accused of falsifying records to hide payments to an adult film actress he allegedly had an affair with. A newly proposed ambitious sports entertainment district, complete with a new arena for the Spurs, will go before the city council this week. Eric Lycum has the details.
The new sports entertainment district in the southeast corner of downtown San Antonio has been dubbed Project Marvel and has the expected price tag of around $4 billion. The makeover would include Hemisphere and surrounding areas. On Thursday, San Antonio City Council will probe specifics to determine feasibility and potential funding sources, which could include voters.
Based on how Bexar County has voted the last several cycles, anything that includes more taxes or more governmental control passes with flying colors.
Speaking on the News 4 Sneakers and Cleats podcast, sports director Chuck McKitenick says the funding model may be different this time, with developers fronting costs and then recouping them from retail tax revenues. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A record number of Americans are planning to travel over the Thanksgiving holiday. AAA expects nearly 80 million people will drive and fly between Tuesday, November 26th and Monday, December 2nd. That's about 1.7 million more than last year. It is 8:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy, traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news on this grim 1,000th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine. It is being reported this morning that Ukraine has launched 6 United States-made long-range missiles into Russian territory. Lots to unpack here, including Vladimir Putin's update of Russia's nuclear response policy. We'll dive into all the details coming right up. First, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today's high in the low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 70s. Thursday, low to mid 70s. It is 44 degrees in Kerrville, Texas. 46 in New Braunfels. 47 here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time 810.
San Antonio's first news. It is breaking news this morning. We have been reporting on it for over the last hour. Ukraine has reportedly launched 6 American-made long-range missiles striking in Russian territory for the first time today. That's just 2 days after President Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use those long-range American missiles to fire into Russian territory. There are reports that there have been restrictions on what Ukraine can do with those missiles. We are assuming that that is for military targets and not civilian targets. These apparently were launched at military targets. Russia is saying that it has knocked down a number of those missiles that were incoming. But Charity, we've seen this many times in war over the years, that there are errant missile firings. There are missile firings where the missile does not go to its intended target. It goes somewhere else, and sometimes it goes into civilian populations. And certainly if that happened in Russia, that would take things to a whole new level, and a level that I don't think anybody here wants to see.
No, and it comes out the same day that Russian President Vladimir Putin updated its country's nuclear doctrine, which essentially now says that any massive aerial attack on Russia could trigger a nuclear response. And that's what everybody is worried about right now. This decision to use these U.S.-made missiles in Russia comes as Ukraine is facing the danger of being plummeted into freezing temperatures for a third consecutive winter as Russian forces target their power infrastructure. And then you add in the fact that Russian forces are training some 10,000 North Korean troops in their fight against Ukraine. So you wonder what's going to happen next. It definitely looks like the ball is in Vladimir Putin's court right now.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Chris. I think it's time to reach out to President-elect Donald Trump, get that relationship he has with Vladimir Putin, and get him out in front of this before it turns into something we don't want to see. And I think that if anybody can do it, it's former president, now President-elect Donald Trump.
Mr. T, about 40 minutes ago, you used the words World War III. And while some people might say, hey, that's hyperbolic, I don't think so.
No, if you look at what's going on.
Yeah, you've got, as Charity just documented, Vladimir Putin updating Russia's nuclear doctrine, saying not only that any massive aerial attack on Russia could trigger a nuclear response, but that Russia would hold the country partnering with another country and using the words a nuclear power, that would be the United States, partnering with a non-nuclear power, that would be Ukraine, in this effort to launch American missiles into Russia, that he would hold that nuclear power, us, the United States, responsible. Charity, the thought of a World War III is not outlandish in this case. I think we're playing with fire here. I think President Joe Biden, by authorizing this, is playing with fire. And as Mr. T just said, and I agree as well, I want to hear from the man who has a better negotiating relationship with Vladimir Putin, and the man who on the campaign trail said he would work to end this war quickly between Russia and Ukraine. That is President-elect Donald Trump.
Yeah, Vladimir Putin's going to listen to anybody in the United States. It's going to be President-elect Trump, who has said repeatedly that he can end this war between Russia and Ukraine. And I'm sure for Putin, he believes that Trump would end the war in a way that favors Russia, perhaps some kind of land agreement. But again, we need to hear from President-elect Trump today because, again, we could see more of these U.S. long-range missiles used in Russia and why they're only authorized for limited strikes. If there's any casualties involved, this is going to create a massive escalation in this conflict.
You got that right. It will definitely escalate. And think about this. President Biden, in his entire term, all he's done is give money to Ukraine. And then right before he's going to leave and turn it over to another, to Donald Trump and his team, he decides to do this. Why he did it like that, I think is pretty obvious. I'm going to stick it to you. Here you go. Good luck. Thanks for winning the election. That's just wrong in so many ways. And it's kind of chicken.
Yeah, Mr. T earlier in the program brought up the analogy. Remember those stickers you saw on gas pumps with Joe Biden saying, I did that, pointing at the price of gas? Is I did that going to be the final legacy of Joe Biden starting what could be a massive global conflict coming up? Well, this will be the first question we ask Mike Opelka out of the gate. He joins us next from the Pure Opelka podcast. His take on this and the other big stories of this morning coming right up. WOAI News Time 8:15. Coming right up, Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, among other things. We'll get his reaction to this morning's breaking news that Ukraine has indeed fired American-made long-range missiles into Russia. But first, Charity, that's among all the stories you're following this morning. What are you following?
According to Russian media, Ukraine has fired U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia. President-elect Trump will join Elon Musk for today's SpaceX launch of its Starship prototype, and Governor Abbott issues a new executive order involving Chinese dissidents. We'll have details now, traffic and weather.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Low to mid 80s today, low 70s tomorrow, and low 70s to mid 70s on Thursday. 47 degrees here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time 821.
It is time to check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. He is brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. And Mike, out of the gate, we got to get your reaction. It is breaking news this morning. Moscow is reporting that Ukraine has fired at least 6 United States-made long-range missiles into Russia, apparently at military targets. Russia saying it's knocked down a number of those missiles, but some have reached their targets. Your thoughts on this situation?
This is really the most disturbing and dangerous thing this administration has done. And they've done a lot of disturbing and dangerous things, in my opinion. But to allow Zelensky to have the ability to fire these weapons, which he's been asking for forever and ever, today, on the 1,000th day of this war, while Joe Biden is 62 days away from leaving, and he's not even in the country. I think this is unconscionable, and there should be a bipartisan outcry against it. And Biden should be forced, in my opinion, to rescind that right he gave to Zelensky. This is, it's disturbing. Our friends in Eastern Europe, you got Sweden and Norway, they're telling their citizens, hey, be ready for war because this thing is escalating quickly. This is not a good situation. Very troubling.
And my President-elect Trump, as you know, has said he can end this war between Russia and Ukraine. But how do you think he'll do that ultimately?
Well, Charity, nobody really knows. And I think Trump leads with the bluster in many ways to get people to talk. And he's already had Zelensky kind of reaching out as well. But Zelensky also has up to 100,000 North Korean troops that are now being sent to the region of the country that he wanted to take back. So he has to be both the future president negotiator and the current president and war president. So it's really a tough situation for him. And I understand what he's trying to do, but it also is putting the rest of the world at risk. And it's not, this is a real serious situation.
It is, and I don't want to make light of it, but is this Joe Biden's legacy? I did that.
Unfortunately, there's too many things that we can point to say I did that, and there are problems, myriad problems. I don't think he's intentionally trying to start World War III. I think he's just trying to, in some ways, lay landmines that'll give Trump difficulty in getting his agenda going. But by giving Ukraine this right, he has given them the key to let Putin do whatever the heck he wants. And that's not a good thing.
No.
So true, Mike. Shifting gears slightly here, a big story. Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe and his woman, Mika Brzezinski, they go to Mar-a-Lago and visit with President-elect Donald Trump. Apparently, their co-workers at MSNBC are none too pleased with that visit.
First of all, let's be clear on this, Chris. It's not just this woman. That's wife number 3.
Number 3. See, I've lost track of
I think
Morning
you might even
Joe's
call
women.
her Trey.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
She's his number 2, and she's
Wow,
his
too
number
much
3
math.
and her number 2. They
Don't
had
call her number
breakfast
2.
at Mar-a-Lago. I love the fact that Trump made him have breakfast at Mar-a-Lago in a room with portraits of him on the wall all around them. It's just perfect Trump trolling. And they're telling everybody, well, we met with him for 90 minutes. I would bet they showed up like 8 o'clock at Mar-a-Lago. They said, we're here to see Mr. Trump. We have an appointment. And he made him sit in the lobby for 30 minutes.
Oh, come on, at least.
At least. And then they sat down and had breakfast. Breakfast was good. I have to go now. Enjoy the pictures of me behind you. I think that's amazing. And the fact that not just the MSNBC co-staffers, but the View melted down yesterday. So you've got a circular firing squad on the left in terms of the mainstream media. And this is fun for me to watch. I'll watch this all day.
So do you think it's going to actually help their ratings, though, Mike?
Well, when you're on the bottom, Charity, anything's a positive here. I don't know. When you tick off your audience, and then you try and get them back, I don't think that's going to help. Nobody who loves Trump is rushing to watch MSNBC right now. They're enjoying the glow of Fox and Newsmax and One America's Voice. That's where the Trump loyalists are going. They're not going, MSNBC says safe space now. No, it's not.
So Melania shares what bothers Trump more than anything. What is it?
Well, Donald Trump himself has said it many times.
You see, that's the real threat to democracy. Stupid people.
He doesn't like stupid people at all.
Well, who
Melania
does?
No, nobody does. But Trump, it irritates him when there are people that are stupid and don't do the job right, especially on the first time. I got a feeling that this interview with Greta Van Susteren, which was very fascinating. I loved it when Melania said, "We really don't fight. We state our cases and then we decide." And Greta was like, "Really? You never yell? You never fight?" Projecting?
That's hard to believe.
You can get more Mike Opelka from his Pure Opelka podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. We recommend the free iHeartRadio app. Another episode will drop this morning. You don't want to miss it. Mike's brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. Coming up, we will bring you the latest on this conflict, this war, 1,000-day-old war between Russia and Ukraine that has escalated today with the firing of American missiles reportedly into Russia. Meanwhile, Donald Trump headed to Texas, to Brownsville, for that SpaceX Starship prototype launch. We'll talk about that as well. WOAI News Time 827.
8:32 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, a massive escalation in the Russia-Ukraine war and SpaceX planned launch will have a special guest. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your weather forecast for this Tuesday: sunny skies, a high near 85. Tonight's low near 53. Right now, 52 degrees. While not wasting any time, Ukraine appears to have attacked Russia with long-range U.S. missiles after publicly getting the green light over the weekend. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage with the latest.
The Ukrainian military claims it hit a Russian weapons stash 70 miles beyond its border. We're told 12 secondary explosions were recorded. Ukraine hasn't confirmed what weapon was used, but Ukrainian media and the Russian Defense Ministry both say US-supplied ATACMS missiles were deployed. Over the weekend, President Biden decided to allow Ukraine to use them on targets deep inside Russia. The Russians say they shot down 5 missiles and damaged another. A new Kremlin policy allows Russia to use nuclear weapons if an enemy backed by a nuclear power uses conventional weapons against it. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
President-elect Trump is slated to visit Texas after unveiling his choice for transportation secretary. Here's Fox's Peter Ducey.
His broader focus in Texas in the coming months is going to be on the border. He confirmed on Truth Social with a true, followed by 3 exclamation marks, post from Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, who wrote, "Good news. Reports are that the incoming Trump administration is prepared to declare a national emergency and will use military assets to reverse the Biden invasion through a mass deportation program." Trump named his choice as the transportation secretary. It is the former Wisconsin congressman, father of 9, and until very recently, our Fox colleague, Sean Duffy.
Meantime, Trump is expected to be in South Texas today for the 6th launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype. Trump's expected to fly in just before the launch window opens at 4 p.m. A trial continues in Georgia today for the man accused in the murder of Laken Riley. Here's Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Prosecution witness University of Georgia officer Wesley Durkett testifying in court in Athens that he analyzed data from Laken Riley's Garmin watch that tracked her on February 22nd, her movement on the Ocati Forest walking trails, her speed and heart rate, in what prosecutors say was an 18-minute fight for her life.
When did her heart rate drop to 0?
So it went to 0 at 9:28 and 23 seconds.
Prosecutors say Venezuelan national Jose Ibarra's fingerprint was found on her phone, his DNA on her fingernails. Ibarra opting for a bench trial on numerous felony counts for which he's pled not guilty. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
City staff will brief San Antonio City Council Thursday about a proposed multi-billion-dollar sports and entertainment district. The so-called Project Marvel has been in the planning stages behind closed doors for a year and a half and may include a new arena for the Spurs. Assistant City Manager Lori Houston says the project in the Hemisphere area may cost as much as $4 billion. No word yet as to how much of that may be paid for by taxpayer dollars. The Texas State Board of Education has approved a controversial elementary school curriculum that has been under fire for leaning heavily on stories from the Bible. Conservative groups say this should not be controversial.
Religious references are in no way religious instruction. The Supreme Court has been clear about this.
Jonathan Covey is with the group Texas Values. The English and Language Arts curriculum, which runs through 5th grade, is optional, but school districts get a bonus if they adopt it. Its backers include Governor Abbott, who said that the Bible is a fundamental text in American history. Well, the Texas AG's office is giving a peek under the covers of its legal arguments for the new state law that requires age verification for pornographic sites. LP Phillips has details.
In a filing to the Texas Supreme Court, the Attorney General's office says the law, HB 1181, only has modest requirements. The state passed the law last year, arguing sites like Pornhub do a poor job of making sure those who gain access are over age 18. The state says there has to be age verification. Opponents of the law say any form of verification is a way for the government to intrude into private lives. The law was stopped by a district court judge, but that stay was lifted by the Fifth Circuit. Supreme Court is expected to hear arguments and rule by next summer.
The HEB Christmas tree scheduled to be delivered and put in place today at Travis Park. City officials say Pecan Street between Navarro and Jefferson will be closed until 2 p.m. so crews can move the 40-foot Oregon fir to the park. The annual HEB tree lighting at Travis Park is on the Friday after Thanksgiving. It is 8:38. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money in the world of business. Courtney Donahoe is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Courtney. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news. Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman. Our thanks to Charlie Parker for joining us earlier this morning. I'm Chris Duell. We will talk more about the breaking news story. Ukraine reportedly firing at least 6 American-made long-range missiles into Russia today. That's breaking this morning. More on President-elect Donald Trump headed to Brownsville today for that SpaceX Starship prototype launch. But first, we want to give away these Longhorn tickets on Longhorn Tuesday. They take on Kentucky on Saturday in Austin. It is the last Longhorns regular season home game. And we were asking earlier this morning, do you have any Thanksgiving traditions? And Mr. T, we have selected a winner.
Here is the winner.
Trucker Dave here, San Antonio. How's it going, guys? Good morning, team. Our Thanksgiving tradition is my girls and I got a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, and my 17-year-old son. We'll all go to a nursing home. We don't have any family in the nursing home. We go and visit and spend a little bit of time with all the people that are in there that don't get visits by regular family members. You will be surprised how many people don't get visited.
Trucker Dave, you're a winner. And as we said it when we first heard that, they're doing a wonderful thing, he and his family.
Now, the big question is, which one of the three kids does he take to the UT game with him? That's going to be the hard part.
Trucker Dave, pick your favorite child and take that child. Or draw straws. I don't know
there you
how
go.
he's gonna do it.
Rock, paper, scissors, whatever you need to do.
But you are going Longhorns, Kentucky this weekend in Austin, last regular season home game. Charity, you've been reporting on it all morning, and maybe Brownsville, Texas is where Donald Trump might make a public statement about this morning's breaking story about Ukraine firing, reportedly, American-made long-range missiles into Russia. As you've been reporting, Charity, Donald Trump, the president-elect, will be in Brownsville to watch the launch of the SpaceX Starship prototype. The window for launch opening around 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes. So a lot of lockdowns, traffic gridlock in the Boca Chica Beach, Brownsville area as a result. But it's going to be an exciting up-close view for the president-elect. As you know, Elon Musk is now in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, along with Vivek Ramaswamy. The two have been very, very close, not only on the campaign trail, but even now more than ever. We were recently seeing a photo of him along with RFK Jr., House Speaker Mike Johnson, enjoying a McDonald's meal on Trump's private plane. So no surprise, the two are going to be together today. But again, all eyes are on the situation in Russia as Ukraine has fired U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia for the first time since getting U.S. authorization by President Biden just a couple of days ago.
Now, going back to the SpaceX launch, the good thing is there's not a lot of traffic around the Boca Chica Beach area where SpaceX launches from, so there won't be that much of a problem with the traffic. Now, getting from the airport to there is going to tie up a lot of people, but the Boca Chica area is kind of desolate, so they'll be fine.
You don't think there's a lot of spectators, people who want to camp out
They
near the
can't
launch
get that
site?
close. They can't get that close. No, it's pretty guarded.
Meanwhile, it is going to be fascinating on this 1,000th day since the beginning of the war between Russia and Ukraine. You know, we spoke with Mike Opelka earlier about this. There's a lot of people wanting to hear from President-elect Donald Trump. Charity, as we've been mentioning, we know he has a much closer relationship, obviously, with Russian President Vladimir Putin than does Joe Biden. It was Joe Biden who just 2 days ago authorized Ukraine to utilize these United States long-range missiles, fire them into Russia. And this is just the first day they've done it. How many more might be fired today, Charity? How many more might be fired tomorrow? And how do we know that they might not intentionally or unintentionally hit a Russian civilian population, which could further inflame Vladimir Putin with whatever response he is choosing?
Yeah, and on this day that marks 1,000 days since the start of the war, you worry, okay, was that Ukraine's show of force to mark the occasion? And what will be Vladimir Putin's response? Again, there's no casualties that have been reported, but this comes on the same day that Putin updated Russia's nuclear doctrine, which essentially now allows any massive aerial attack on Russia to trigger a nuclear response by Russia.
We are going to stay on this story. It could develop into a major story and a major escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Keep it right here on 1200 WOAI for the latest as it develops. As we roll forward, we'll get you updated on headlines, traffic, and weather. And then we're going to tell you how you could win Spurs tickets tomorrow. It's a little bit unique, something we've got planned tomorrow, and it might involve dancing. I'll tell you about that coming up. WOAI News Time, 8:46. A unique way for you to win Spurs tickets tomorrow on this program. But first, Charity, what stories are you following?
Ukraine appears to have attacked Russia with long-range U.S. missiles. Boca Chica Beach will get a visit from President-elect Trump for today's SpaceX launch, and City Council set to get briefed on Project Marvel. We'll have details now, traffic and weather.
Sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Highs today in the low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 70s. Thursday, low to mid 70s. It is 52 degrees at Alamo Heights, 52 at the Pearl, and 50 right here at the Radio Ranch. WOAI News Time, 8:52.
San Antonio's first news. Our thanks to Andrew Zimmel and the son of Tejano legend John Pacheco, EJ Pacheco, for making the show go today, doing the heavy lifting. Tomorrow is Wembenyama Wednesday, and on Wembenyama Wednesdays, we give away a family 4-pack of tickets to a Spurs game. And Charity, tomorrow it's going to be an interesting way for listeners to win their Spurs tickets, because what is all the rage among NFL players, the United States men's soccer team, Hulk Hogan? So many people are doing it. Charity, what is it?
It's the Trump dance.
Yeah.
Trump dance!
The easiest dance move to do, I think. We're
going to find out, aren't we?
Very little rhythm required. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. And to demonstrate, tomorrow morning, we will have a San Antonio's First News dance off, and we will share it with the people and let them know that, yes, anybody can do it.
So we'll go first tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thanks for the warning.
We'll make a video. We'll do the Trump dance. And then, Charity, what we'll do tomorrow is ask our listeners if they want to win the Spurs tickets on our social media, on WOAI's Facebook page, Instagram page, X page, send in their videos of them doing the Trump dance. I can't wait to see Charity McCurdy doing the Trump dance first thing tomorrow morning.
I feel like I'm going to need to wear a red tie or something.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
I might have to rummage through my tie collection and come in with a red tie.
Or borrow your Make Tacos Great Again hat.
There you go.
Maybe that's the route.
I would say go through my tie collection, but I have one, and it's not red.
My tie collection.
Yeah, my tie.
My tie.
And it's not red. I'll just tell you that it is not red.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to remember to bring my Make Tacos Great Again hat tomorrow. That's perfect. So you've got around 20 hours to practice your Trump dance. And perfect it.
I saw Hulk Hogan doing it on Fox News this morning. It's caught the world by storm, apparently.
Yeah, there was a United States soccer player. Kicked a goal, and after scoring a goal in a soccer match, he did the Trump
decided
dance.
to do it there. We saw NFL players doing it, so it's out there.
Was Jake Paul somebody after the Tyson?
I don't think it was Jake Paul, because they were too busy having selfies with Tyson and Jake Paul and their girlfriends taking selfies after the fight. What's up with that?
So isn't the Trump dance like the stereotypical white person dance?
Yes,
as a white person, I can say that. Yes.
Typical white dude who can't dance well.
With the overbite and all that.
Gives it a shot.
Okay.
It gives it a shot.
All right. As long as the fists are pounding to the beat, I guess that's what counts,
Well, I saw him out of rhythm, so I guess that's okay too, right?
See, from now on, though, doesn't it sound better? From now on, it'll be known as the Trump dance instead of the white dude with no rhythm dance.
Yes, I like that.
Just Trump dance has a ring to it.
Yes.
Sounds better. So
chicks dig the Trump dance.
More than 50% of Americans apparently dig the Trump dance. So, all right. That'll be tomorrow on the program.
And it's a huge prize. We're talking a family 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Spurs game.
Yes.
So, and all you got to do is dance.
Yeah.
Who
How
doesn't
hard can
like
it
that?
be?
Who doesn't
Yeah.
like that?
Exactly.
And then you can do the Trump dance in the stands at
Yes.
Frost Bank Center, and
Yeah,
Wemby
maybe
makes
they'll-
a three.
Maybe they'll have like the Trump dance cam.
If Greg Popovich has anything to say about it, I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see Pop doing the Trump dance.
Oh.
Anything's possible.
It
though.
is possible.
I don't
yeah.
rule it out.
But no.
All right. That will be tomorrow. Keep it right here on 1200 WOAI for the latest updates on this morning's major breaking story. Ukraine reportedly launching U.S.-made long-range missiles, at least 6 of them reportedly, into Ukraine. Charity will have more on that coming up at the top of the hour. Then the Glenn Beck program. Right now, your Sean Hannity Morning Minute, WOAI News Time, 8:56.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Get your
Adios.
dancing ready. Come on.
Dance.
Come on and dance.